This week on Sleep Detectives, we're tackling swaddle transitions, early rising fixes, the truth about Ferber for sensitive babies, and how to ditch the dummy without tears. Plus, what to do when illness derails your great sleeper. Want the full archive and bonus tools? Subscribe to our newsletter at naptrappodcast.com.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Sleep Detectives. Hi, Beck.
Welcome back, everyone. Hi, Sally. How are we going?
Good. We have so many questions still left over from the last episode of Sleep Detectives where you had to cut me off because I kept, I was like, add another one, add another one. And we'll throw in the steak knives. But wait, there's more. So we are back with another full episode of questions that I don't know what's on your side and you don't know what's on my side of the question box. We're going to wing it as per usual. And I should say apologies to anyone watching this on Spotify. I look like a bit of a comfy slob. It's Friday afternoon. It's Halloween. And I just had an everything shower and I fake tanned.
Oh,
so priorities.
There's no better feeling. There's no better feeling.
I'm clean.
You're gonna rock
and I'm
into
bronze.
the weekend with a great tan. I love that.
Bit of a greeny browny tint to it still.
Yeah.
No pain, no gain. So anyway, if you're watching and being like, Sally has really let herself go this week, it's not a Halloween costume. It is my fake tan.
That's usually me. If anyone, I had a client who said to me during the week, I love watching you girls on the podcast. And then I was like, watching? do you actually watch it? And she was like, oh yeah, a lot of the time I get to watch if I'm nap trapped. So she said, like, if the baby's on her, she'll actually watch the video, whereas other times she just has us in her ears. And I was like, oh God, because, there's sometimes I get onto this and I'm like, ooh, that's...
Well, you were just telling me before how you figured out that you feel like you've got a lazy eye on the recording because of the positioning of your life, which I have never noticed. Sorry. As in, like, maybe I should have been paying more closer attention to you and your lazy eye.
Yes. And it's all to do with the fluorescent light. So if anyone's looked at the video before and thought she's had a stroke
Beck
or something
having a
like
stroke?
that. It's the lighting.
Is Sally jaundiced? No, it's just we forget people are looking. Let's do this. Do you want to start? You start.
All right. Okay. This is a great wee question. It's super easy to answer. How to transition from an ergo pouch swaddle, arms down, to arms out when rolling?
I'm pretty sure from memory the ergo pouch has the clippers, the little press studs to trap the arms down. It's just a matter of letting the arms free, really. You could go one arm at a time, but if baby is actively rolling in sleep and they definitely need two arms out, I don't know, for me, you just got to let those little arms free.
I agree. So, and I would start with nights first. So, definitely go with nights first, arms out. It's just, I wouldn't muck around. You're kind of prolonging the process. Both arms out, get used to that, and then start with your first nap and second nap. But yep, you just got to be brave and do it.
You just got to do it.
Essentially,
it's. There's always these moments, and it's always just as you've got sleep looking good that you're like, oh, now we got to change the status quo and let the arms out, or now they can stand, or now they can do whatever. You just got to do it and just give it time, and the novelty wears off. They stop flapping their own face sooner rather than later.
I would say, actually, on that note, to really avoid unswaddling before baby is actually rolling. So I do see a lot of families who've seen signs of rolling. Their baby actually hasn't rolled yet, and then they've started that process of getting arms out and so forth. Don't be gung-ho is my advice. Just wait until they actually are rolling and then do the unswaddling.
I know that you and I are routinely putting 4-month-old babies back into something like a miracle blanket swaddle that really is like the lovely baby sleep jacket. Well, it is like a straight jacket for sleep. to delay
That's right.
transition so that the startle all of these transitions, moving, coming out of the swaddle, dropping naps, all of these, the later you can do it, usually the easier.
Moving to a bed. Yeah.
Moving into a big
Try not
bed.
to,
Yeah.
Yeah. Just wait. Let it happen naturally. Yeah.
And
Cool.
then when it's inevitable, you just do it. All right,
Yeah,
I've
that's
got
it.
one. What time should a 10-month-old have their naps during the day? My guy is waking at 5:30, so I feel the schedule is off.
Oh, 5:30 in the morning. That's when I would be using the early rise protocol, because if you're first and listening to the other episodes that we have on Nap Chat about keeping at 9:30 a.m. first nap, we do that. The first nap should be 9:30, regardless of what time baby wakes. And the reason for that is if you are putting your little one down any earlier, their bedtime is likely to be earlier in the night, which is then potentially going to mean that bedtime is, 6:30, which makes sense then that baby's waking around that 5:30 mark, which is 11
Absolutely.
hours. So I would just hit up that episode about why a first nap needs to be 9:30 on a 2-nap schedule.
And I think the other thing is that if your first nap is too early, it not only does it bring your bedtime earlier, as you've just mentioned, it reinforces the early rise, because the little body clock says, oh, I don't need to sleep any longer because I get this nap. And we both know going from 5:30 till 9:30 can feel like you've lived a
yes.
day
Yeah.
when that baby has not gone back to sleep. And they can be cranky, they can be rubbing their, like doing all the things, and we're always trying to avoid overtiredness. We're going to brace for impact. We fully accept it. If you do it any earlier, you will continue having that rise. So 9:30 till 10:15. How old was the baby? What time should a
10
10-month-old?
months.
Yeah, 10 months.
I would probably go on with the OG schedule at this point in
9:30
time.
till 11. Yep.
Yeah. Mainly because you're just trying to get that later bedtime again. So 9:30 to 11, 2 till 3:30. And because he's 10 months old, he could potentially do up to 4 hours of awake time between the end of the second nap and bedtime. So bedtime is going to be somewhere between 3.5 to 4 hours from the end of the second nap.
Naturally gets you to a waking between 6 and 7. So if that 5:30 still crops up, and assuming this is all schedule based because it's a scheduling question, you know that this is a matter of that there's sleep pressure in the tank. That you need to sleep train this out, as you said, with the early rising protocol.
Perf.
Excellent.
I have another question for you. 4-month-old twins stopping feeding to sleep for day naps and to bed of a night time. Is feeding back to sleep overnight okay? Absolutely.
Great question. Yeah.
It is a great question. I think while we're definitely moving away from feeding to sleep through the day, overnight we are much more relaxed on this. The only caveat to that is that they must complete their feed before they fall back to sleep.
Yes.
So if you've got a 4-month-old and you're feeding, say, 4 times through the day, you've probably got a couple of feeds overnight, and they're probably spaced 4-hourly apart. You do need to make sure that those feeds are completed in order to be able to do the next 4-hour stretch. So if baby is falling asleep on the breast or bottle after half a feed, then they're not going to be able to make that stretch again. So then you're going to sort of be doing the top up. So as soon as babies have finished their complete feed, and I would absolutely still burp at this age, burp and then straight back into the bed. It doesn't matter if they're asleep while you're burping them or they've finished the feed. It's just you've done the job.
It's a really common question when we're actively sleep training, even for slightly older babies, when we're so focused on self-settling. Does this baby need to prove that they've got that skill? Do I need to rouse them before I pop them down to say, okay, now flex that muscle, show me you can self-settle? No. If it's, for me, that's an overnight feed, not feeding to sleep. The difference is that in your example, they're feeding those two beautifully 4-hour, completing it back down. If you are just feeding every 1 to 2 hours to get a baby back down, that's when for me it would classify more as feeding to sleep. And how could we move away? As in, does that feel like the crutch that they're needing every sleep cycle at this age? And then that's when I'd say, okay, we're going to move away from that and rejig. But no, I'm with you. If you've completed the feed, back to bed, enjoy it. And if they wake 10 minutes, or 45 minutes later, yes, great. Then you can work on settling in a different way. But I'm with you. Great question.
And then typically also something off the back of that. Sorry, I know that this is not technically a question that's actually asked.
Love it.
So some families will say, but once I've finished the feed, they're not asleep. Do I need to hold or rock them back off to sleep? That like I'm spending ages trying to. No, absolutely not. Once you've completed the feed and you've burped them, pop them back in the cot and let them do their thing, because they will feel like they've had a Christmas lunch.
Yeah.
There is so much milk in their tum-tums at the moment, and then they might just have a bit of a fussy moment trying to sort of get comfy, have a bit of a burp or a fart or whatever it might be, just trying to get comfy. But then, and a bit of like squawk time, but they should be able to get themselves back off to sleep. So just give them space. So try not to adopt the idea that they need to be asleep before they go into the cot.
I actually think that's the more common scenario with the babies that I work with. It's good to know the answer that if they happen to be asleep after you've completely popped down, but 9 times out of 10 you pop them down and they have roused to a certain degree and then have a squawk and roll around and, as you said, do all the baby things, and then they're just so content. It's the middle of the night. All things are primed to just drift back off.
Yeah, that's right. And it just gives them that opportunity to flex that skill set. So, yeah, absolutely. Don't work really hard on that.
No, we don't want to do any hard work at all, ever, especially not at 1 a.m. All right, here we go. How do I know if my 14-month-old is ready for a transitional nap schedule?
You go for it.
I think, as always, if what you're doing at the moment, if it ain't broke, you don't need to fix it. The main thing that I would be, age. You could just purely almost from now say, okay, great, this is an age-appropriate schedule to move towards. The time when you're really going to know at this age that you need the transitional schedule is when baby is taking a big chunky first nap and you is barely getting anything for their second nap, and you are left then either with a huge wake window before bed or a super early bedtime, like none of the second half of the day is sustainable, in which case, bang, we're on for the transitional schedule, which is the short, long to prepare for the 1 nap transition. Because what a lot of families think, particularly at 14 months old, which is on the cusp for the 2 to 1 nap transition, is that, they're refusing nap 2, that must be the sign. And for me, particularly at 14 months, I don't want to do it back at 14 months. I don't want to drop that nap. So if you are experiencing that nap 2 predicament, then that's the sign. Or you could just do it. Like if someone booked me at 14 months and was having X, Y, and Z and what's the schedule and blah, 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 I'd say, okay, we can just go straight in.
Yeah, it's just the preparation stage for dropping to 1 nap. So you can, I say to the families that I work with that are coming to me with a 12-month-old, I'll just put them straight onto the transitional. I'm not really looking for any signs. It's just to future-proof them so that, in the lead up to dropping to 1 nap, that's done for them. And also they will be able to clearly see the signs that their baby is ready to drop to 1 nap. So there is no, aside from the obvious, like you were saying, Sally, with the nap 2 being impacted, you can do it anytime between, it can even sometimes be 11 months, that 11 and sort of 14 months. So that would be
crack on. Okay, here we go. 5-month-old starting sleep training. Should we turn off the auto bounce functions? I think I have an image in my
What's an
head of
auto
what.
bounce?
Yeah, I think that there you can get these cribs that sort of bop up and down.
Wow.
I've
Wow.
seen,
So
yes, yeah.
fancy.
So Snoo goes side to side bassinet.
Yeah.
This is more of a
Wow.
like a
Motion.
yeah, you know what
Motion
it
of the
makes me think
ocean.
of? Yeah, when you go to carnivals and there's the trampoline and you go in the bungee and it
Oh,
like sends you
yes,
up.
yes. Oh,
It's
my
like,
God. Yeah. My
that's
kids
how
have
I
always
kind of.
wanted to do that.
It makes me so car sick whenever I've done it. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my God, get me out
Oh,
of this
you've actually
thing.
done it. Yeah.
Yes, yes. I I actually did it, and I was clearly traumatized by it because I've never done it since. I would have
Oh.
been 15 or something at an aquarium in Hawaii,
Oh.
and I was like, "This
Of
is the
all
best."
places.
And
Yeah.
I get terrible motion sickness. Nausea is my Achilles
Oh.
heel. If you don't already know
Oh.
this back about me, and I was like, I don't feel so good. And then these like the waves of fishy Oceania sort of smells,
Oh.
and I was like, I can never
Yeah.
get in one of those
Wow.
things again. So
No. Oh, my
that's
God.
kind of how I imagine
Yep.
this. Like it
This
kind of
this
bounces up and
baby.
down.
Yeah. So which case you do
Regardless.
stop it now.
Yeah, regardless, turn it off. The point of sleep training is to teach independent, self-settling skills. A baby making a transition from awake to asleep without any kind of assistance, that they're just rocking this skill on their own. They bang their legs, they suck their thumb, they have a cry and pat their face. They do something to put themselves to sleep. That's the point of sleep training. So if the bounce function is still on and still adding in that layer of assistance using the motion to get baby off to sleep, then it's not going to be true self-settling. I would turn it off. Great age to turn it off and make change.
Great age to turn it off. I'd also argue that it's probably not working because you're thinking of sleep training.
Yes.
So
yeah.
yeah. So it's time to cut it.
Yeah. And if they've outgrown, I don't know how long babies can stay in these bungee.
Yeah.
Bungee bassinets. I think you can just go into a cot or a crib.
I'm going to Google that at the end of this.
I'm certain
I
there's
feel
a
like
lovely
I'm
mother
not-
in Snooze Social that I worked with when her baby was very young that had one, and I had never seen it before. And that's why I have a visual in my head. I could be way off. There could be some new fandangle thing. But the same would
Maybe
apply
it's
if
a
this was the
suspension
Snoo.
thing. Maybe it's like a hook, and then it's
Maybe,
like a
maybe it is a true bungee.
wow.
Have you seen those baby sleep hammocks, though, that do the same thing? I mean, it would not be a
Yes.
safe sleep choice because it's not a flat surface. They look cozy and cute. Definitely not endorsing that as a selection, but it will bounce the little hammock for you.
I had one of the reasons that I wanted to become a sleep consultant actually was a lady in my mother's group in Sydney. Her baby just would not. There was no sleep going on at all, and they tried absolutely everything. And I remember that the baby sleep hammock was a thing back then, and they were just desperate for anything to work. And yeah, and the baby hammock didn't work.
It didn't work.
So I just remember that. But yeah, it was the new fandangly thing on the market. Yeah.
Well, I had a consult with a mother in Dubai yesterday with a beautiful 7-week-old baby, and they've got a Snoo, and it seems to work. She doesn't even really need the function. It gets turned off, and this baby's rocking overnight sleep. But during the day, if it's turned on and it moves faster to try and settle, it makes the baby more upset. And for those babies, less is more. So maybe the baby that didn't respond to the hammock, it feels counterintuitive because we want to be so hands-on. We want to do all the fixing. We want to bounce. I mean, we sway. Like I still push the trolley. I still
same.
sway. It's just innate.
Yeah.
We have to also interpret what is baby telling us. This is too much for them. Let's put them in a nice firm swaddle, pop them down and just see. Even at 7 weeks, just have a go. And I bet you this baby will have a quick fuss and then say, do you know what? I'm really tired. I'm going to go
Yeah,
to
I
sleep. I
agree.
needed some space, and I needed a firm swaddle so I don't have to fight myself.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah, it is
surrender.
the fighting. Yeah, for
Mm.
sure. 100%.
All right, well, now we're on newborn sleep.
Oh, yeah, how did
So
we...
turn the bounce off. Less
Yeah.
is more. All right, what have you got?
Okay. 10-month-old taking 45 minutes to self-settle at night 1. Oh, sorry. I read that without any, what's the word for, like, commas in that? Grammar.
Oh, you had no grammar.
There's no grammar in this. So
No
I was...
punctuation.
Punctuation. So 10-month-old taking 45 minutes to self-settle at night. They are 1 week into sleep training. Is this on track? This is a little hard to tell because I don't really know what the sleep training is involving, whether the routine is on point, feeds, that type of thing. I would say that it's not uncommon, and it would really depend on the level of crying. If there was like if the level of crying was 10 out of 10 and you're a 1 week in and it's 45 minutes, I'd say that we'd maybe need to look at adjusting something because I would ideally would like it much faster than that come 1 week. If you were working with us, that just wouldn't be happening. But if you're doing
or if it was, we'd
as
be
like
deep diving.
yeah, we would be deep
we'd
diving
be
into what do we
troubleshooting.
need to tweak.
Yeah.
That's it. So it's not uncommon, and maybe it's a degree of crying. So, it could be that they're high intensity for 10 minutes, but then low grade for 20 and then having another crack before they fall asleep. Yeah, I don't know. You could potentially, the answer would be there's potential for improvement.
Oh, definitely. How old did you say this baby was as well?
10-month-old.
I remember working with a 9.5-month-old over 2 weeks who just did so beautifully, slept all night, took all these naps, but we still had lengthy crying at bedtime. And for her, it took we moved from a 3.5 to a 4-hour wake window at 9.5 months because we'd done everything else. We'd done all my ducks were in a row, and that is what finally fixed it. So it can be that it's just a small personalized tweak based on everything else. But before I would ever just jump to, they must need more sleep pressure, there would be so many other things to think about. The other thing that jumps out is that if this was at the 1 week mark, have they experienced an extinction burst? And we've done an episode on this on nights 3 or 4. Like maybe things were going really well. Night 4, extinction burst, and then something else gets added in that it now is still feeling like night 1, rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
So I'd need to, that would be another thought at that
other
mark.
Contributing factors, and these are just so that the listeners can sort of hear why, there's so many underlying causes for why these things happen, is that, there's potential still for baby to be falling asleep on the breast or the bottle for their final feed.
Yeah.
Unbeknownst to mum, they've just sort of they're just having this tiny micro nod and then sleep pressure is reducing right back.
Yeah.
Mum feels like they're going into bed 100% awake, but actually they've just had this micro nap that feels like a big 20 or 30 minute sleep. And so there's just the sleep pressure still needs to be built again. So these are all the things that lead to lengthy settling periods.
Yeah.
And there's probably 80
the long
more.
Blink. Oh, there's
the long blink.
Yeah, the long
There's
blink.
so many reasons. The long blink's very cute. That's a nice way of saying it.
Well, I first used it when I worked with a family years ago where the mother on the intake form wrote, on the current sort of, I was like, you and I asked for a 24 or 48 hour sleep log. And on the sleep log was they clocked a 7-minute nap. And I was like, that's not a nap. That's a long blink. This baby's taking a long blink, a 7-minute long blink. We're not. We can do better. We can do better than this. Yeah. But yes, they love a micro snooze or a long blink with the final feed, and it can be it can ruin the sleep pressure.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, could the technique, if we're into sleep training, could it be too overstimulant? Could it also be too hands off? Does this baby need more of a pattern to be like, where are you? What's happening? Or maybe do we need to pull back because everything is just like, are they in the room and this baby is just saying either get me up or get out? There are so many things.
Yeah.
What I would
Absolutely so
say
many
is
things.
there will be a solution.
Yeah, that's right.
Similar to
Yeah.
you saying there is progress to be made. I wouldn't ever panic. Great. We regroup and move forward. That's a perfect thing for a consult too.
It really is.
Yep. Okay, here we go. Oh, this is a good one. Does Ferber work on a clingy, sensitive 6-month-old?
Oh.
Let's talk about what Ferber is very, very, very briefly. Ferber is a traditional sleep training technique that is very common in the sleep training world, which uses essentially controlled crying, timed intervals, and I believe if you do it by the book, sort of night one is you go in at 2, 4, 6 minute intervals, and then the next night might be 6, 8, 12, and you increase incrementally over the time whilst you work on self-settling. Does it work on clingy, sensitive 6-month-olds? I have my answer. I'm scared to say it out loud.
I'll
just do it.
I'm backing you. I'm backing you.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I agree.
It is so age appropriate at 6-month-olds. And what I often find is that for babies that can be seen as clingy or sensitive is that actually a lot similar to what we were just talking about before with all the movement and the input of babies not liking that, is that sometimes more hands-on things, it's misconstrued as clingy and sensitive and not working. I'm not saying that this baby isn't that. Every baby's temperament is different, but my experience is that it often these babies need space. And Ferber is great because it meets a lot of needs. It gives parents something tangible to do. You're not just saying, all right, we're doing cry it out, I'll see you in the morning. They're unsustainable for majority of people. Don't need to do that if that's not the vibe. It gives your baby a pattern of reassurance. We talk about this all the time. Babies are natural pattern seekers. They just want to know what's coming next. And you going in short intervals can create that pattern to say, we will always come back. We are right here. And it gives them some space to figure out, how am I going to learn to put myself to sleep?
I agree. I sometimes feel like, well, not sometimes, I do feel that the more and more, so it starts with layering, so, you need a swaddle and then you need rocking and holding and then you need padding and swaying and shushing, and that they're resisting all of that help. And so now you're, facing south, 45-degree bounces, it's like really, you are really putting absolutely everything. Maybe you've got the bottle in their mouth or a boob in their mouth while it's just absolutely everything is thrown at it, and it feels like they're sensitive and, all those things. And then you're kind of left with nowhere to go. You're literally left with nowhere to go because you've used all the big guns. Absolutely everything is on the table. And do you know what families haven't really thought about in that moment? Is actually doing nothing. And it feels really hard to do nothing because it doesn't come naturally. As parents, we're wanting to always help and fix and make sure our babies are feeling loved and all the things, that their needs are being met. But there are a lot of little ones who are just like suffocating in all the help, and it is way too stimulating. And in those moments, it's such a great tool to be able to use a technique that is a little bit more hands-off, always reassuring. You are always reassuring, responding, but you're actually meeting their temperament and their personality.
Yes.
And that is sometimes hard to reconcile because you're so hands-off rather than doing all the things. But in that moment, you start seeing that actually they are thriving on that technique.
It
absolutely
is so common that
major
these
differences.
babies Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you. I didn't mean to cut you
go
off.
for
How
it.
rude. No, I was just so excited because it's so often these babies, and I think because you and I just do it so often, we work with babies of all sorts of temperaments. But primarily, we work with trickier sleepers. So the
Yeah.
ones that are going to signal, we don't work with easy sleepers.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
twice a year, I'm like, oh, they're undertired. Let's shift this.
Yeah.
And oh, look, it just magically clicked into place. We work with all sorts of temperaments, and it so it's easy for me to say this was so appropriate as an option to at least explore, because we see it on the flip side.
Yeah.
That,
And on the
but
flip
it's hard
side,
for parents to know that it will work.
I think it's really hard for parents to give themselves permission to do less. You know,
Oh, and then we add in
then
a social media rhetoric about Ferber or
Yeah.
controlled crying or sleep training in
Yeah.
general, and it's like, oh no, this is. And when you've got a baby that is sensitive to change or is a signaler or is just very vocal, and I have had one, it does feel counterintuitive because it becomes emotional for us as parents, because there might be crying involved. There may already be crying involved in your
Yeah.
arms. So how can we make this productive? Also, if sleep has been really tricky, are they truly that clingy and sensitive? They may be. Or are they just also really tired?
Mm-hmm.
All of these
Yep.
things start to overlap and muddy the picture.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, as a whole, it can work. Absolutely can work.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I even modify Ferber all the time. So rather than doing, if you thought 6, 8, 10, 12, by 12 you're like, that's too much. I often modify to say, we're going to just pick your max. What's your max threshold? 5 minutes? Great.
Yeah.
We'll just do 5. 5, 5, 5, 5,
Yeah.
5.
Essentially, at the end of the day, it's about creating a pattern. It's not actually about the length of time that you're out of the room, in a lot of cases. But yeah, it's definitely a technique on the cards for sure for a baby of that age.
Yes, definitely. Okay, 17-week-old. Oh, this is a question for you. You're going to have a good answer for this. 17-week-old and is now dummy crazed. How do I wean him from the dummy? It's impacting sleep.
Okay, so I'm just doing a mental calculation of like 17 weeks into months. So
Or what's that? 4.5.
So just under 4.5. And I would argue that it's probably more this the 4-month regression. See, I will back a dummy until
until you're looking
me
like
and
a
dummies
dummy.
are like this. I really should have a brand. Like be promoting a
Any
brand.
pacifier sponsors, find Beck, not me.
So in this scenario, look, I think if we tidied everything up in terms of feeds and naps and so forth, you're actually going to find that it's not the dummy and that the dummy can work in your favor. I think it's more a case of sort of getting some structure into your day, being really confident about resettling and finding ways to create a pattern of response using the dummy. And once you sort of have your day lined up timing wise and there's really great sleep pressure going into the night with a well-rested baby, it will typically end up that you're going to have these really good stretches overnight. Using the dummy maybe once or twice, a couple of feeds twice, and then sort of being really realistic in terms of like how many replugs there are from your end, because you have introduced a dummy that your baby cannot find and replug for themselves. So if they are searching for it now that they are 4 months old and the sleep cycles have changed and matured, they are potentially using it as a sleep association to fall asleep. And you need to be really mindful that they can't replug it. So you've got to be okay with going in a couple of times. I'm not saying like 11 times overnight, like that would be way too much. And this would be problematic. And this would be a reason to come and see us to get your day lined up so you can have a positive experience with a dummy.
Yes. No,
Really
you can
went
have
off.
a positive experience with a dummy. You are more inclined to keep it than
Yeah, I am.
I am.
Yeah.
But both your way is valid too, Beck. Because what I would do is like you incorporate it into this fundamentally we would probably look at needing to do some sleep training. We need, in the sense that your baby can then learn to self-settle with or without it.
Yeah.
We increase the value of the dummy, because what ends up happening is when there's dummy craze, we've gone through the 4-month sleep regression, we're plugging it 11 plus times overnight, is that it becomes ritualized. Dummy falls out, I cry, mum comes in, pops it back in, I drift back off, or 2 minutes later I spat it back out, and you end up just popping it in, and that becomes the pattern. They don't need to wait for it. They don't need to keep it in, because you're right there. They may even be next to you still in the room, and you just reach over constantly, replug. So we can increase its value and incorporate it into working on some self-settling with it in the mix. Equally, a lot of families decide we're done with this. That is also okay, in which case there is no real weaning. You know, I've worked with some families that will say, I'll pop them down with the dummy, but then I take the dummy out once they're asleep. And for me, that never quite makes, if it works for you, great. It just doesn't quite make sense. When we're looking at, we want the way a baby goes to sleep to then become the way that they resettle between a sleep cycle. So if they've gone to sleep with a dummy and then they wake up and say, where's the dummy? That would be a justifiable reason to wake for me. You kind of got to go cold turkey if you are getting rid of it. In saying that, you can keep it for days. Absolutely. We've talked about this before. The nap brain and the night brain are two different beasts. Keep it for days. Get your naps in, get to bedtime, but you need to be equipped with a technique, whether it's pick up, put down, shush, pat, Ferber, like we've just talked about, like something to support your baby through that change. And then you need to see it through consistently. You don't bring it back at 2 a.m. and say, okay, fine, just take the dummy. Understandably, many families would do that. You got to see it through. And then most families report, after 3 nights, we've never looked back.
Yeah, it's a great age to ditch the dummy. If you, because some parents are just using it as a reactive way to get their little one back off to sleep. And if it's not really part of their long-term plan, 100%, like that would be a great time.
And maybe it was great for the newborn and it really helped with reflux. And, now we're sort of stuck in this. We were never going to have it. And now and now's as good as time as any. And equally, you can keep it, but you need to increase its value. And as you were saying, regardless of the problem ever at any age, dummy or no dummy, we always have to do the day work to get to bedtime, because you can organically reduce and fix an X amount of these overnight wakings based on your day. Chances are something else is causing some of these wakings, and then the dummy gets added into the mix. So definitely start there always.
That's because if you've got an overtired little one and they are waking, they're going to be waking multiple times overnight, especially in the first half of the night, because the cortisol prevents them from reaching a deep phase of sleep. So you've got little ones that just wake continuously. And so when they're waking continuously, they will be so annoyed if the dummy is out of their mouth.
Yes.
But if you have a well-rested little one going into bedtime, then they're not going to wake as many times and be searching for the dummy to go back in. So it's just a case of sort of going, all right, like, are we in or are we out? And choose your own adventure, really, on that one.
Yeah. Either team Beck or team Sally.
Yeah.
You got a fork in a road. You got to make a choice.
Yeah, that's right. Pick me.
Pick me. Never think about the dummy again.
Yeah.
All right. Should we do one more? And then I've still got so many. We can just re-record.
We'll do another week.
Okay, let's do one more. 13-month-old has hand, foot, and mouth. How do we help her back to sleep when she's sick? She's usually a great sleeper. Hand, foot, and mouth can be nasty.
So hard. Yeah.
My daughter had a bad bout. I'm sure I've talked about it before. with ulcers in her mouth, and she's,
Oh.
listeners will know she is my angelic sleeper from the day I brought her home, and so all the rules had to go out the way. Like she was in pain, she wasn't eating and drinking, and so I'm just trying to think of. I remember like the room she was in, because I was like, oh, I've never sat here at 1 a.m. Before, but I just had to look out, you might need to rock. You can always go into the night thinking, I'll try and be a bit less is more, just to see. But if a baby, and, you could replace hand, foot and mouth with lots of other nasty viruses and ailments and illnesses. You just got to meet their needs and have a go. I think the question maybe is more, technique of getting back to sleep for an otherwise independent sleeper, which can be tricky because you can sometimes feel like, I don't have any tools because I don't need them.
Yeah, like you've had such a great run that it's not like you've got a way, in which case you kind of just have to find your groove, because you don't really need to employ a technique when they're unwell. With hand, foot and mouth, it's just you're probably all in for 3 or 4 nights until it's all sort of settled down, and then you start backing away and doing less and encouraging more and so forth. So drawing a line in the sand. But I wouldn't feel bad about it in that situation.
No,
I think we've probably referred to the scale, like the illness sort of scale before, like a 1 to 10, and 1 would be like a light little cough or something like that, and
a sniffle.
10 out of 10 would be ear infections. Hand, foot and mouth would be up there for sure.
Yeah, particularly a bad bout of it.
Yeah, that's right. So in those moments, it's, that your child is a really great sleeper. They're not going to lose that skill. You kind of do what you need to do. Once everything is back on track, draw a line in the sand, and then either gradually remove yourself from the room or just nip it in the bud. Good night, darling. Mummy, daddy, love you. See you in the morning. And then hightail it out of there and just, reiterate that they can use their own skills to get off to sleep. So never feel bad about that. That's fine. It's all good.
No, never feel bad. I had to reset after that same hand, foot and mouth when she still wanted me to sit in the chair and read a book. I was like, if you could say these words, I think you're better. And I messaged Cade, my husband, to say, don't come home. I'm sleep training. And I did a modified Ferber. And we didn't even get to the third check. And she was like, oh, I'll put my thumb in. I'll go back to sleep. I understand the assignment here. That was fun while it lasted. So you just get back on track. Yeah. I think you just, you do whatever you need to do. And if it looks messy and it takes longer, because you don't usually have to rely on that. I have had moments where I have fully weaned from breastfeeding for months, and I have had a child awake, probably sick in the night. And I have thought, do you think if I just pop them on, because I've got great sleepers, and I think I don't have a tool. Like, we don't rock, we don't shush, we don't pat. We do independent sleep. Do you think I could relactate?
Yeah.
In desert. And I was like, no. Yeah, come on. There's got to be something still left in there. But I do know that feeling of like, where do I go from here? You just muddy your way through.
You do. And I've probably touched on this before, but I would say for those families who have weaned overnight feeds, that if you're thinking about settling a sick little person, and this is obviously for little ones that are sick at home, and, obviously you would do whatever you need to do if you're in the hospital and all of those sorts of things,
we're not talking about
dehydration.
Yeah.
But if you've worked hard to wean feeds, then if you imagine your tool belt of settling, rock, hold, pat, cuddle, water, Nurofen, Panadol techniques, all of those things are in your tool belt, your settling tool belt. The only thing that's not in that tool belt is a feed. And the reason for that, for me personally, is that you've worked really hard to take that out, and it's unlikely that your little one is actually waking because they're genuinely hungry or requiring it. You can absolutely offer water, but it can sometimes feel like, oh, that's what they needed in that moment, because they're going to happily take it if there's milk there. it's going to feel like that's going to fix the issue. But then it can often lead to, the internal clock is now, there was calories offered at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
I'm going to wake again at 2 o'clock because calories were offered last night, and then we've got to feed, and then it feels like, oh gosh, we're back in this cycle of feeding. It's not, if you do it once or twice and then it's done and you're not sort of having to think about it again, totally fine. Your little one is one of the easy ones. But if you are finding like that you do often get stuck in this cycle of, for whatever reason, one night you do offer a feed and then you're back into it and it feels like you're always trying to just remember, just once you've actually eliminated that feed, it's no longer on the table. As part of the settling tool belt, it is no longer there.
Yep. I agree. Oh, that's
your
tough
pep
love from
talk.
Beck at the end.
God, I'm a hard bitch, aren't I?
She just. The pediatric nurse over here is, you just do whatever you need to do.
Yeah,
Beck,
I know.
don't feed.
I know. Do not feed.
It's true. It's true though.
Put a dummy in. Put a dummy in.
Don't do that. Families do that. I've worked with many families that, because we're all just trying to make this better overnight and probably trying to do things like you're saying of not feed. I have worked with families that bring a dummy back in months later to be like, and then, either keep it or don't. But we're all just, you're all picking your battles. We get it. Just don't pick 100%. The feeding battle. All right. Well, I think that's probably enough from us. We've rabbited on as per usual. I had a consult this week. Someone said, I can tell you girls have fun on the pod. And I really like that because do you know what? We absolutely do. Like I've just looked up and I'm like, it's 46 minutes. Time flies. Time flies when we're talking baby sleep together. So I'm glad that that's coming through on the pod because we generally do have so much fun. We will continue to put up the question boxes on our socials next week. So if you're listening and you've got a question, be sure to reach out there or in our DMs or even emails. And that's Sleep Detectives, Sherlock and Watson. Sherlock and Holmes. That's one person.
If you do have an option to look at the video of this, then maybe you want to see what Sally looked like at the start of the video, and now 45 minutes later as the tan is darkening.
And then go and watch the next episode because we're going to record one straight after this, and I'm not showering in between. And if anyone can diagnose Beck's Bell's palsy in one of our based on the lighting.
Take a little snapshot, like a little. There's
any
many opportunities.
Ophthalmologists or neurologists in the. All right, let's go. Right. We'll see you on the next episode. Bye, everyone.
Catch you later. Bye.
Bye.
This week on Sleep Detectives, we're tackling swaddle transitions, early rising fixes, the truth about Ferber for sensitive babies, and how to ditch the dummy without tears. Plus, what to do when illness derails your great sleeper. To get the full archive and bonus tools, subscribe to the Nap Trapped newsletter.